Okay, welcome to showcase number 120. We're actually somewhat close to 150, and then after that 200. It'll be another couple years, I think, but whatever the case, the first thing you're going to notice is that the login page looks completely different, and don't worry, we're going to get to that. However, we have a lot of stuff to go over today, way more than we even had last time, so I want to pace myself, and at the same time I do want to go relatively quickly and give each thing the amount of time it deserves. So, believe it or not, I actually prepared for today's showcase. We went ahead and made a little PDF here. It's very fancy, I know. It's just a default template for PowerPoint, but I ask that you're impressed anyway because I did actually put time into the prep for this, which is something I don't usually do. And it just goes over what we're going to talk about today. So the first up thing is login. The login page, as you already mentioned, or as I already mentioned, and as you already saw, has been completely revamped. There's now an actual registration process, which is pretty cool. Creation is a lot different. Fantastic. Really nice. I've been waiting to do that for a really long time. So we're going to talk about that first, then we'll move on to inventory, crafting, chat, and spell icons, which I'll talk about all at length when the time comes. Login and registration have been a thing that have haunted me, in fact, for years now, literal years, because I was never very good with HTML or CSS or the client-side surface-level JavaScript, you could say. I much prefer the back-end stuff. I don't really like making interfaces, but recently I had a bit of a kick, a design kick, I guess you could say, and I was really enjoying remaking some of the website interfaces that I've seen. So I took a crack at it, and I think it turned out pretty good. If you click on these little things, their borders light up, and when you mouse over this stuff, blah, blah, blah. They're basic CSS animations, but I think it looks pretty good. It looks relatively professional, which is a pretty good thing. We didn't even have a registration page before, and now you can get there via just clicking register, and you can go back with login. If you type something like this, or we'll just say room 2 and hit login, well, it'll say that that account doesn't exist. If we try to log into my account with the incorrect password, you can see that it still targets. I have to fix that bug, but anyway, if we just type in some random string, it'll tell us the password's incorrect. Same deal over here, so that'll go away. You can click it to get rid of it. If we try to enter something here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll tell us we need to register the account or activate the account in Discord. And if we type in some random password, it'll tell us the password fields need to match. So if we were to actually go into Discord and activate this, it would function as you'd probably expect from a registration field. In the future, this should have an access key field so you can manually input one if I ever decide to do stuff like that, and it should have email activation. However, getting a mail server is a little bit troublesome, and it's a kind of time-consuming task, that would take up a bunch of my development time, so that'll be a future thing when I have the spare time to, work on it. But anyway, we can log in here with just my account name and password, and you can see pretty straightforward, basically the same thing as it was before. The only real difference is the login process itself. So next up on our docket on the world's fanciest PowerPoint PDF presentation, we're looking at inventory. However, it does extend a little bit beyond just inventory stuff, so it's going to extend to items, item pickups, and some things relating to tooltips that I think you guys will find really, really cool. They're honestly super awesome in my opinion, so stay tuned real quick while I drag this over here so we can take a look at that. The first most obvious thing, this took about 30 minutes on a weekend. I made it so that when you pick up ore, like so, it doesn't spam the screen as much. So if I were to go grab more coal ore, my mouth doesn't work, it'll just continue adding to that stack number, as you can see, instead of how it was before, where it would just spam your entire screen with a million different pickup messages. So that is pretty cool. That works for anything that's an item, so now that should be less of an issue. You can always toggle it off, but still. So another one of the big things I did was I got rid of the huge thing in the inventory for the right side, where it was like this tiny little display that didn't really serve any true purpose or anything. And instead, we have more inventory slots and these cool little tooltips. And currently they're a little bare bones, and they do have an edit and delete button, which is an admin thing specifically. I'll get into that later, but for right now, just focus on the tooltip part. We can right-click these to see their stats in the chat, as you can obviously tell. This was this thing before, of course. However, you had to left-click them and then I think hit the question mark or something in the select box. It was a whole process. Now you just right-click it. So right-clicking is no longer a drop function unless you pick them up and drop them like so. So that's how you, I guess, split stacks, and you can also drop them out of your inventory that way by doing like this. And you can see that the drops count for that as well, which is pretty cool. And you can pick them all up again. Awesome. Really cool. It's a huge streamlined process. It took about a week to get right, but I think right now it's at a really nice point. And if we look in our stats, you can see that our stats also have these tooltips. So previously, they had this really dumb system. I think you can still see it with these, yeah. You can see it with the stat ups where it tells you that it'll cost 1 stat point or whatever. I might keep that, I don't know, but that was how everything was. Now they're all tooltips. It looks much nicer in my opinion. And we're also going to extend this to everything else. So the way this is going to work is when you first create an account, it's going to ask you if you're a new player, and if you say yes, it'll add tooltips to a lot of the buttons. So you can say adjust if you want to see them on these buttons down here, or if you just want to see them on the stats, or if you just want to see them on items, or whatever else, right? So hopefully that should make the game a lot more engaging and a lot more approachable to new players as well. You can also do this in the equipment inventory, so you can drag something in here and then see that there, which is pretty cool. FR, for the record, is focus region. I think currently every item in the game has focus region. Don't worry too much about that. It's fine. Other than that, I think that that's everything. You can see most of the stuff going on here through all of these different items. I can look at a couple of these different stats. The only other thing I can think to mention with inventory stuff or item stuff kind of bridges over to crafting, but we'll talk about that more in just a second anyway. It's stats. So previously, a lot of the alloys hadn't been added to the game. A lot of the ores had like carried over stat multipliers and all this stuff and descriptions. So I've gone through and fixed almost all of them. I've added 2 kinds of base ores. I've fixed their rarities. I've gone through and I've made sure all of their stats make sense. I added about 20 to 30 alloy recipes, blah, blah, blah. There's a million changes coming to that. A million changes already done. So that's completely reworked and revamped and prettied up for release. So very happy about that. And next up, we're going to talk a little bit more about the stat side of that with crafting and so on. Okay, so next up on the docket, as I've already said, has been crafting, or is going to be crafting. Now, I know I just said it's going to be crafting, and I know that it says on the screen crafting. However, I'm going to go ahead and show you admin tools and try to convince you that this is related to crafting. I know that doesn't make any sense, and I would agree with you when you said it doesn't make any sense. However, I ask that you bear with me because it relates to alchemy, and alchemy is mostly done, but like in the boring parts that I can't really show off. So I'm just going to try to tangentially relate everything, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, most of the stuff has been bug fixes, is my point, so I just want to show off something cool that I didn't list on this little PDF thing, so that's going to be admin tools. The thing we're going over specifically is the edit and delete button, so if you mouse over one of these things, it obviously shows up with the edit and delete buttons. This is an admin-specific thing, and I revamped all of the admin-related stuff, so if you weren't an admin in-game, you legitimately wouldn't see one of these things, or one of these little bars or whatever. If we were to hit delete, we can just do that over here in this thistle leaf, and we hit delete, and it's gone. Fantastic. I missed the button at first. Anyway, so we can also hit edit the same way, and for the record, I'm holding Alt here, so if you don't hold Alt, it just goes away immediately. If you do, it preserves, so you hit edit. You can adjust the rarity. We'll set this to uncommon. You can adjust the stack count. We'll set this to 20, I guess. We go back, bam, done. Cool. It's at uncommon, whatever, awesome. I've already edited this as you can tell, but anyway, this menu is a really big deal because this is what every single tier of admin is going to use in every single capacity. Currently, the mob version is in progress and almost done, but it still needs a little bit of work before I can show it off, so I'm just showing off this side of it instead. It's pretty straightforward though. The idea is relatively the same as what you'd expect from any edit menu. We can go in here and edit the multipliers to whatever we want. We can set this back to more normal amounts. We could go crazy with the crit chance to like 5. We could set reserves to like 0.256, blah, blah, blah. Hit edit. We go back here, check this. Bam, done. We can go over here and get rid of the focus regen bonus, I think, right? Yep. Set this to 0. And maybe we want the bonus to be 10 for regen health. And done. Fantastic. So I guess it didn't count. Oh, I didn't hit enter. Anyway, you get the idea. So that doesn't actually matter. The stat bonuses don't actually matter on ore because you can't equip ore. However, if we were to go back, you can pretty easily see that there's an equipable option and an equip slot here. So if you were an admin, say, and you were drunk or high or something, and you said, I want to wear some ore on my head, you could set this equip slot value to head and set equipable and then put stat bonuses on it and equip it on your head. I don't know why you would. Like I said, you'd be drunk or high, but I appreciate the fact that you can, and that's what I've really been working towards. So I'm really happy about that, and honestly, the fact that it's possible now is super, super cool to me. You can also set consumable and stackable. Consumable doesn't matter that much right now, but stackable does. It's currently how stuff determines if it needs to save a lot of information or a little, so that is pretty important to admins, but probably not super important to you. And another function of this is if you go up here and hit edit/create, you can change the mode to create, and tap this down here. It closes the menu. Bam, you have 20 ores on the ground. Cool. So that's how that works. You can see the stack currently just concatenates, which is a bit of an issue. I actually didn't know that was a bug, but anyway, that's a relatively simple one to fix. 2020 has once again ruined my life, but anyway, I apologize. I legitimately didn't think that was a thing. Anyway, that's pretty cool. How does that relate to crafting, Ruby? Well, I think that it's at least somewhat obvious how it relates to crafting, because obviously this is going to be events, this is going to be if you have a problem with an item, if you have a unique item, blah blah blah. It makes the entire game go around, so it's super important to have for not just crafters, but everyone who's playing. For crafting specifically, though, it allows custom reagents to be made, it allows you to have custom stats on everything you make if you so chose, or if you're running events or whatever, so on and so forth. It's actually really important for crafting, and even though I joke about it, you kind of get the idea. So, for alchemy, though, I know I said there was something really cool happening with alchemy. The basic thing is that it's all been bug fixed, which is cool, but not really something I can show off. And it has this really cool functionality now for effects lasting through reboots and logouts and all that stuff. And there's a function for continuous upkeep functions, so you can have like potions of regeneration that heal you every second, potions of damage that damage you every second, and all this stuff. But it's not done yet, so I can't show it off. And I was like, ah, damn, that sucks so bad. However, there is one thing I can show off. So this is related to potions. It's a spell refund menu, and we're going to be using this elsewhere in the code for enchantments and something called weapon oils and a couple other things. So stay tuned for that. However, for the moment, I can just show you the base functionality, I guess. We need to buy some spells, which is what I'm doing right now. And you're going to notice that it has some strangeness associated with it up here. These are just masteries which don't have their icons supported yet, but if we go down here, you can see we can select any of these. And currently, the title is gone, but it'll just say the actual spell name, which is cool, and then it tells you whatever the spell description is. The scroll bar is not going to be here in the future, but anyway, you get the idea. That's pretty cool. And this is going to be used again for things like enchantments, so you'll be able to pull up a list of all the weapons in your inventory and then select which specific weapon you want to use, and you'll be able to do the same stuff for weapon oils and other things like that. So anything to do with crafting selection is going to use this menu. Probably some other stuff as well. I'm probably going to like wrap this up into an admin menu too, so you can like present this to someone so they can refund their spells or whatever else. But anyway, that's really cool. I'm really looking forward to implementing more of the in-depth crafting features and everything, which shouldn't take too long, considering this is like half the work. Designing the UI and interfaces, honestly not even half, it's like 75%. So without further ado, though, we're going to go on to the last parts of the showcase, which are probably the most fun parts for most people, which is we're going to talk about the new upcoming spell icons that Doom has made us, and then we're going to talk about the chat. Probably not in that order. Alright, so as is tradition for showcases, I've decided that I'm going to keep all the fun stuff at the very end, I think. I mean, maybe the stuff before was fun to you guys, I don't know. But anyway, the visual stuff and the fun, cool asset stuff, that's all at the end, because why would you want to see that? Specifically, the chat stuff and new spell icons. So, first we're going to take a look at the chat, which is, I mean, relatively the same. Not too much has changed there, but it's still a pretty substantial difference. The first thing, outside of the chat actually, or well, sort of related, is you can tell now that it goes up to the top of the screen. And the reason for that is because previously, you might have noticed this little pop-in effect behind it, where you could see like tiles loading in and stuff. So that was loading all of the tiles behind the chat window, right? And that was cut down. So now there's about 30% less resource usage for just generating and storing tiles on your screen, which is fantastic. And we've also recentered it so it makes a little bit more sense now in terms of like where the player is compared to their screen. Previously, I had the idea that we could like resize the chat and stuff and all this different stuff. Now, however, I've decided that while we might have chat resizing in the future, I want it to be centered on the player outside of the chat. So previously, everything was centered on the screen, but you know, that was kind of awkward. So it's since been fixed, which is all you care about. We've also added some chat animations, chat tabs. So now that they aren't on the top, I can actually add labels. So that's pretty cool. When you mouse over them, clearly it just kind of extends out, which is neat, pretty cool. We can hit IC, type in here. It works the same way it used to. So you type in here, and if you're in OC, you type in OC. If you are in OC and type IC, you'll switch to the IC tab. However, it doesn't change the animation yet. So that is one change that has to happen. But we'll get to that. The only other thing I want to mention is the map tab, which I haven't talked about too exclusively yet. This isn't going to take a whole lot of time, I don't think. It's a very simple idea, but basically I thought that IC is cool because you can see like LOC and stuff like that. If we were to do this, you can see that there. You can see that here, but you can't see that here. I was thinking that what would be nice is to be able to see only stuff from your map. And the way this is going to work is essentially you'll be able to see your IC, your LOC, and there's going to be a special chat just for map-wide OC. So you can sort of confine stuff that way. I'm hoping that that might keep people from spamming OSC too much because you'll have like a little more local connection to the people nearby, I hope. But we'll see. I'm not entirely sure yet. I don't know exactly if I'm going to keep it called map. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air, I think. But anyway, we can also mess around with some of this stuff too. Previously, this was a kind of ugly menu, but now we can go through here and select rooming rooms. I know it's clipping, but don't worry too much about that. In the future, it'll just layer over it. But anyway, we hit rooming rooms. We are now muted from OOC. We can see that in the admin tab if we so chose, and we won't be able to type in here. You're muted from OOC. Fantastic. We can also do this, which I'm going to regret because I'll have to edit it out. But bam! Oh, I missed. There we go. So this bans you from an admin, or bans you from the game permanently by your IP by default. There's no way to go by username. It just goes by IP. I thought about that for a while. I was like, well, maybe it should go by username, but I think I'm just going to have an extraneous option that's less used for username specific denial because I think otherwise it's a security risk to not go by IP. Now I'm going to BRB real quick because I have to go edit my name out or my IP out of the ban list, and I'll come back to you with stuff about the upcoming icons. Okay, so finally today we're going to talk about the really exciting stuff, which is the icons and assets and everything. So for those of you that don't know, which is I think almost 95% of the people in this Discord chat, or rather the total Discord, I guess, is I have an order out for a ridiculous number of map assets, and that should be in about half a week or so, up to maybe a week if Wilson takes a while. That isn't what this is. It's going to be almost exclusively, or no, entirely exclusively for spell icons. However, stay tuned for that because that'll probably be next showcase, or will almost certainly be next showcase. But anyway, and then after that we'll talk a little bit about some other stuff and usual end of showcase things. But first is lunge. So this is what this is. It's a little slow right now because I have to speed it up and it's going to be split apart and all this stuff. But anyway, looks really nice. Doomulus is the one that made these, if you weren't aware. Simpleton, whatever he goes by right now. It's pretty cool. I'm a really big fan. I think it's really, really, really nice. He's actually really good at VFX. We also have Rend, which most of you have already seen. This, for the record, is the unsplit up version. We can also see this little pulse at the feet. There are two versions of this. It's pretty cool. And then we also have Cleanse. This over here is just the halos separated, and then this is the full effect. It's a little fast, but again, this stuff can be adjusted super easily. It's mostly a timing thing. I just have to split them up and put them in the game. So those are coming soon. Very, very happy with those. I think that he's done a great job. Really, really happy that we have an artist like him in the community. But anyway, so what's coming up? How's the 3 weeks before the announcement been going? Rumi? I keep talking to myself in these showcases. Yeah, so really good. Really, really good. I've actually been ahead of schedule as far as getting stuff done goes. And I've been really happy about that too because I was worried that it might be not enough time or it might not, I might not be able to finish that, all I need to finish in 3 weeks, and I might have to rush things. But in actuality, I've actually had some leeway. I've been able to work on some other stuff that I thought was a little extraneous at first and then kind of talked myself into doing because I had free time, and we've gotten quite a bit more done than I expected in the first week or so, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to the next 2 weeks and then seeing what we can do about the actual date and when that'll happen and so on and so forth. So I think that's about it. I don't want to take too long because I'm actually pretty proud of the showcase not taking 20,000 years to finish, so or 20,000 years in duration, I should say. So whatever the case, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys enjoy this schedule. I've really enjoyed having the extra week to work on stuff instead of just the showcase itself. It's been pretty relieving. I've been really enjoying my time. I've been really excited, and I hope you guys are too. The chat's been acting up a little bit more, and I apologize if you aren't in any of the circles, the staff circles, or playtesting circles, or whatever else. It's actually really active, but I know most of you guys can't see that, so just trust that everyone's busting their ass to make it a great game, including myself especially, and I can't wait for you guys to play. So have a great day, have a great week, and have a great week after that for the next showcase.